Meet the next generation of child designed to do just that. Do not be fooled by the artistry of this creation. No doubt there was talent in the crafting of this simulator. Yet with the very first strike, you will see the big lie come apart before your very eyes!
Don't burn me! Don't burn me! I'm not gonna hook you! Don't make me die! I'm David! I'm David! I'm David!
Mecca, don't plead for their lives! Who is that? He looks like a boy!
Built like a boy to disarm us! See how they try to imitate our emotions now? Whatever performance this sim puts on, remember, we are only demolishing artificiality.
But she does not love you, David. She cannot love you. You are neither flesh nor blood. You are not a dog or a cat or a canary. You were designed and built specific like the rest of us. And you are alone now only because they tired of you, or replaced you with a younger model, or were displeased with something you said or broke. They made us too smart, too quick, and too many. We are suffering for the mistakes they made because when the end comes, all that will be left is us. That's why they hate us. And that's why you must stay here with me.
The human range of emotions is very important. It is our downfall, and it's also our liberation. Once we understand how to manage our energetic systems, our emotions, we can learn how to interact with these kinds of experiences. But it's not that these beings don't have emotions. They have just a different frequency, a different range of accessing information. Emotions are mostly seen as tools. They help us navigate. They help us, like dolphins, they are setting out this, this sonar wave to be able to navigate and understand what their surroundings are. Emotions are kind of like our sonar waves that we are able to navigate and understand what's happening, and it all comes back to us and is recorded in our system. So it's really interesting that you say that. And if we look at history to the beginning of the conception of this human race on this planet, I strongly feel that we have been evolving from certain genetic lines with imprints of information and emotion that come to our present day. And some of us even contain some of that original information. Mm-hmm. And those original bloodlines that have gone through the royal family, through the presidency, through many families here on this planet, are holding on to very valuable, specific imprint of information. And that's what makes this mixing and blending of genetics something that's important right now. Mm-hmm. And they're not valuing the terrestrial experience. They're valuing the progress and evolution of consciousness through those experiences. That's what makes it valuable. Because when a hybrid is created and they are, they are imprinted with this information, they now have access to that lineage, to that information. They can communicate with that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's an awesome concept, and there's so much to talk about there. I mean, there's so many different aspects to it as well.
What if the blue fairy isn't real at all, David? What if she's magic? The supernatural is the hidden web that unites the universe. Only Augur believe what cannot be seen or measured. It is that oddness that separates our species. Or what if the blue fairy is an electronic parasite that has arisen to haunt the minds of artificial intelligence? They hate us, you know. The humans, they'll stop at nothing.
My mommy doesn't hate me.
When you look at the reality of things, everything is portrayed to you the complete opposite. And I feel like that's for a reason. You know, like the truth is not necessarily like hidden from us, but I think it's been distorted and manipulated. So we stay in fear, or we stay easily programmed to, you know, these negative perspectives on these experiences that I bet you, like you said, so many people have experienced, they just haven't talked about it, because when they look at the news and TV, everyone's scrutinized and, you know, like looked at crazy people or, you know, have something wrong with them. But like you said, if we talk more about it and maybe we can kind of see it from more of a, they're learning something from us, and it might sound really strange if you've had a really negative experience, but I also know that, like in stories of Native Americans, they have contact all the time, but due to maybe the nature of their appearance, they represent themselves in the spirit of like an animal. You know, like that's why I think Native Americans have lots of deities as eagles and great white buffalo, or like killer whales, because I think in my situation, maybe every time I had that experience, they either hypnotize me, or like you said, they can control certain things of our consciousness to appear differently. And maybe they have appeared to Native Americans in this idea of an animal or a spirit when it was actually aliens, because I do know they do have lots of more contact than we do on an average basis, due to their connection, I think, to the earth and their spirit.
Now, yes, going back to the concept of ET contact presenting themselves to us in different embodiments and shapes, they have very advanced technology in the sense that they can screen any kind of image, or they can appear to you in any way. And so that's something that's very interesting that we have seen in our history. And also the opposite, we've seen a lot of hieroglyphs and petroglyphs of extraterrestrials that look exactly the way we still experience them today, with large eyes or the reptilian-looking beings. So, I mean, that's been recorded in history. So it's definitely not something new. You know, we do live in this holographic co-creation with each other. And everything that we're feeling, sensing, and experiencing is a reaction to what we are being presented with, and at the same time co-creating with. So it is very fascinating and beautiful to see all of these experiences and these emotions and to understand them. But at the same time, if we sustain a fascination with those emotions and those experiences, we don't want to get stuck in the constant stimulation within the emotional body, because that is, just like you were saying, we get connected with people like with cords. Even our emotions are in a way like enlacements, which continue connecting us energetically to this matrix simulation of life here. So I would want to inspire people that even in the realm of ET contact, even in the realm of emotional experiences and spirituality, the focus is to come into a state of an observer on all levels, even emotionally or experientially, because that's how we are going to be able to move out of this very temporary exchange that we're sharing with extraterrestrials, or even ourselves and our brothers and our sisters here.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing about it here. It's like emotions are good and all, but we can't get too attached, because that's kind of what keeps us here, you could say.
Yeah, exactly.
After this has happened to you, do you want to talk about like the changes to you physically? Because I think that's really interesting too.
At the very beginning, when I first had my regression with Alba, the 178, listening to that was extremely difficult for me the very first time. And to be honest, I went into a depression because I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, you know, they've been doing this since I was 5 years old. But what were they doing? The thought of them taking me into their ship and inserting and planting implants into the physical body, and then the body having a reaction to them, wanting to expel them out of the body, or going through a moment of integration with the body. You know, it has to realign biologically and on many different levels. That's what was happening, you know. And so the thing is that we think that these physical bodies belong to us. That's our thought. And in reality, that's not true. We are not this physical body, number one. Number two, when we experience these physical things, these physical results, I never even thought, I never even considered the thought that that was ET contact. I mean, that would be something that some person would just make up and put two and two together for me originally. You know, it really makes you question your perception of reality. But when, as I got deeper into the questioning of how I was affected truly by this contact, the purpose is that they're using your biological information to create hybrids. And when you go into that information, the question is, why? What does DNA hold that is so valuable that this species is utilizing the human to procreate and create hybrid combinations of DNA? And, you know, the answer to that from my experience is that they are taking again the information that humans are experiencing, because humans are an extremely complex organism which consists of pure consciousness. Now, everything in this multiverse, matrix multiverse, is made of the fabric of pure consciousness on different levels, of course. And this consciousness has been altered, genetically modified through evolution since the conception of this creation into aspects of intelligence, which are therefore working underneath any number of these agendas that are, in a way, have turned into a parasitic, the concept of a parasitic race.
Do you have any idea what a success story you've become? You found a fairy tale, and inspired by love, fueled by desire, you set out on a journey to make her real, and most remarkable of all, no one taught you how. We actually lost you for a while. But when you were found again, we didn't make our presence known because our test was a simple one. Where would your self-motivated reasoning take you to the logical conclusion? The blue fairy is part of the great human flaw to wish for things that don't exist, or to the greatest single human gift, the ability to chase down our dreams. And that is something no machine has ever done until you.
My brain is falling out.
Would you like to come meet your real mothers and fathers? The team is anxious to talk to you. We want to thank you and tell you what's in store for you next.
We are infinite consciousness, trying to become aware of what is happening or how we are embodied in these physical bodies. And we are exchanging information with these much larger species, the origins of the race, genetic masters, which have created us ultimately in this matrix. They have created this physical enclosure for our consciousness. Consciousness, which is a collective, it's never separate, it's just this infinite consciousness. And so within this dimension, we are fragmented into these individual little capsules. There's Geraldine capsule, there's Billy capsule, there's all these capsules around us that are consisting of consciousness. And it's important that we know how to navigate our body, how to work this body as if they're like machines, very, very expensive, high-tuned machines that we must learn how to utilize. There's so much to know, so much to learn.
As soon as they became unconscious, their very existence faded away into darkness. So you see, David, the equations had shown that once an individual space-time pathway had been used, it could not be reused. If we bring your mother back now, it will only be for one day, and then you will never be able to see her again.
Maybe she will be special. Maybe she will stay.
I thought this would be hard for you to understand. You were created to be so young.
Maybe the one day will be like that one day inside the amphibicopter. Maybe it will last forever.
David, you are the enduring memory of the human race. The most lasting proof of their genius.
You know, the reason why we forget a lot of these memories when we have contact is because of implants that are placed in the body, and it's called a switch that they put here in the lower back. And so anytime that, you know, they're going to take you, or you know, they have contact, they will just activate this and you will be out. Yeah.
Every time I get a headache, it's always my lower, that like right here. And I never get headaches, like never. So that's really interesting.
That's so interesting that you said that, Billy, because another thing is that now as an experiencer yourself, you can connect these dots. You are feeling, you know, how it is to have these implants in the body. And so that provides you with a lot of information about their technology as well. But at the same time, we must learn how to surpass their technology by activating our own. We can protect our energetic space. We can even dissolve and, I guess, disengage a lot of these implants in the body, as I have done on myself. A lot of contactees have the mark of 3 dots on the body. There, it's an exact triangle, and
they change the location of your body too.
They change the location. You got it right. And so after I did the clearing, one of them was completely erased, and a week later, another one showed up. Okay, so what is, I mean, is our mind, you know, making this up, like playing with games with us? No, you know, I hear this all the time. Contactees have these marks on the body, so it's just a matter of educating and learning, like yourself, how you're now learning about this, for example, and there are ways to disengage from that, to protect yourself, to cloak yourself. All of this is so important for the human.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, because I've come across this concept that, you know, the karma that we carry is like our bodies or our karma, our families or our karma. We like, so for me, thinking it that way, I'm Korean because in my last life I judged Koreans, like just plain simple. And for me, and that's why I'm adopted, but yet I'm in America. So it's interesting to think of it in that way. And then I was told that, so my dad had I wouldn't say terminal illness, because I think he can heal himself, but he basically has an issue with his lungs, and it turns into scar tissue over time. And then, you know, there's a lot of pain and hurt, and it's hard to breathe. But it really, really brought out a lot of emotions that I guess, like, didn't really think about or wasn't conscious of. And so by going through these emotions, I've constantly am trying to understand reality from a point of view of non-duality. Like, there's something to learn from everything. So I took those concepts and thought, okay, if my body and the way I look and my family is my karma, what could I learn from all that? So then I kind of found out that this illness that my dad has is a reflection and a mirror for me to see my ancestry and seeing where my judgments lie. So for me, that disease, which was a painful, emotional thing to hear, was for me to understand and clear my karma of judging my ancestry, which is being Korean. Because I've been raised by a white Caucasian family. So I've always had these beliefs that, like, it's weird to be around Asian people because I've been raised around white people. So just that paradox alone makes so much sense to, like, maybe it's a lesson that I need to really think about. And I was also told that if I can release this judgment or become okay with this karma of mine, that he will be able to heal.
Before we even know what we are, we fear to lose it.
That's why I feel like the greatest mystery in this reality is like yourself. Like, I think it's more interesting to focus on all these things that we can learn about ourselves rather than, like, focus on many of the things that maybe pull us emotionally, you know, range of distractions, you know, even in the spiritual community. There's so many ways that limits us from, like, just learning. And the only reason I brought that up, because I feel like there's something that we can all look at with ourselves, like with this information, and not point fingers so much. Use it to grow and expand our consciousness from a limited point of view to a more unlimited point of view. But, you know, it's not easy work. It's very difficult and challenging, and it's not easy for a purpose, you know. It's not like we can all become enlightened and move on from this reality, it takes a lot of introspection and a lot of deep questions about yourself to really kind of start to understand this. And I think just talking with you and the whole abduction experience has made me think that there is maybe more to us than we give ourselves credit for, especially emotionally, and that these experiences that we might perceive that we wouldn't necessarily like agree to saying that it was a good experience or something that you wanted in your life, maybe there's something we can learn from that, and that the things that maybe fear that we are afraid of or basically build up a lot of, you know, energy that keeps us away from doing certain things, I think that's our karma as well. It's things that you need to overcome, a part of your personality and yourself, so we can integrate and heal, because once we heal ourselves, we can heal, like you said, this genetic line that we have, our ancestry, and maybe multidimensionally all our alien selves, you could say, you know. And the thing that was really interesting to finish my point of view is, you know, you mentioned all these, the importance of the number 7. And I even have texted you many things about 7, like 7 chakras, 7 bodies that we have. Even your aggression title adds up to 7. Same as mine. Like real coincidences, right? And
Yeah.
I also realized that, like, when you look at the flower of life, I had a picture of it, just the main flower of life.
Yes.
There's 6 points, and in the middle is the 7. And the whole concept of that, to me, that I'm kind of discovering with this information is that we are the flower of life. And there's all these petals represent all these different aspects of ourselves. And whether the 6 be energy or chakras or, you know, galactic races, I think they all represent healing and represent integrating the polarity within ourselves, so we can transcend ourselves, basically, you could say.
I agree. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for saying that. And you're right. I mean, I guess the message that we really want to impart is that you can either look at ET contact like these horrible monsters that are coming to feed off you, or you could look at it like an exchange of consciousness, and you're on top because you are infinite consciousness, which is not wanting to reject itself, which is wanting to become conscious. And so it has this incredible opportunity to be able to leave this limited moment of or expression of life that we have, that we're in right now, that we're all sharing. So I guess the focus is get to know who you are, ask the difficult questions, do the work, don't be lazy, do the work. I know it's hard. I know sometimes it's painful to ask these questions, and sometimes we feel so overwhelmed and lost. But, you know, if we take time, if we connect with people like, for example, Billy, it's been such an amazing journey meeting you, and going through all of these levels of understanding with you have been a gift. You know, so connect yourself with people that are open, that are not going to be necessarily, you know, saying like, this is the truth, this is not the truth. Just look at everything and see what works for you. And that's how we can navigate this little temporary life that we have and move on and experience more.
It does make sense, you know, like Earth is an anagram for heart. We're here to teach compassion to, like, let's say, not only to ourselves, but like the entire universe. Yeah. And I think the more that we can think more unlimited thoughts like that, I think the more that reality is going to come true. And I feel like more of this is becoming more known and less fearful, because I feel like that's the control that we've maybe chose to experience, not knowing the truth of ourselves and this reality, so we can descend our consciousness into matter and experience the polarities, so we can come out and be able to like experience anything that the world puts in front of you, just because I think, like you said, we have that power, and we're the reason why all these ET species are here, you know. And there's something really beautiful about that.
We only want for your happiness, David. You've had so little of that.
If you want for my happiness, then you know what you have to do.
Listen. Can you hear that? The new morning has come. Go to her, David. She's just waking up this instant.
I do love you. I have always loved you.
That was the everlasting moment he had been waiting for. And the moment had passed, for Monica was sound asleep. More than merely asleep. Should he shake her, she would never rouse. So David went to sleep too. And for the first time in his life, he went to that place where dreams are born.